So today's agenda about exporting document files is from Pages, Word, and Google Docs. We'll cover why it's important, document file types, do some demonstrations of all three, and take a look at some Q&A as we go through them. So one of the questions I asked myself was, what's the difference between a document and an image when it comes to computer files? And I did a little research on this and talked to some of my tech friends on this. And basically, a document has text, it has some formatting to it, and it's editable. Now, it can contain images that are embedded in it. And E.G. came up with a great analogy. He said, if you're driving a car, you have the car that's the container, but you might have people or engine or luggage in the trunk. They're contained within the vehicle itself, but you're really talking about a vehicle. And so a document can be a container for images, or it can also be without images, but it's primarily focused on a text layout where you have lines of text that can be formatted. Images are files that are strictly visual information, and they're typically on computers represented as pixels. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on if you have questions about that. Okay, so why would you want to export? Okay, well, you might want to export to share a file with somebody, to preserve some formatting, to put it into a web page or convert it to something that can be used by other people. And organizations are different from individual personal users. We're primarily personal users of technology, but an organization like a government agency or a company or a business or a school, they typically standardize on one type of software and everybody uses that software. So in an organization, they might all use Microsoft Word. So for them to share things with each other is not complicated because they're all using Word. In, say, a organization that might be Apple-centric, they might all use Apple as Pages. In an organization that's Google-centric, that's standardized on Google software, they might have all standardized on Google Docs. So organizations don't necessarily have to worry too much about sharing different types of files internally, unless they want to preserve formatting or do something other than what they might use within the organization. So that's something that, as individuals, is different. As individuals, we have a challenge. We have personal documents that we might share with ourselves or with a family or friends, or we might be a member of a club, or we might need to upload a document to a website. I don't know if you've ever had to upload a document to a website. It says your document needs to be in this format, okay? And so you might need to know how to export something to that format in order to upload it to a document, say for tax preparation or other types of things. Sometimes certain types of files can't be uploaded to a website or some other service that you might be working with that you are provided with. Now, what you and they can open is a challenge because I might use Word and a friend might use Pages, or I might use Google Docs and a club might be standardized on Word, or I might have a website that says, yeah, you can upload this file, but it has to be in a different format, or you have to change it to a PDF or something like that, or it has to be in Word. And so these are all different requirements that individuals have to be aware of because we all use different software. We aren't all part of the same organization, like a company or a business or government or a school. And so we aren't standardized on things as individuals. So that's why exporting documents is a little more important for individuals than it is for organizations. So then you've got these different file types. And so files on your computer are basically digital pieces of information. and your computer has software that's able to open them up. And so if you have a Word document, you need a Word application or an application that's capable of opening up a Word file. If you have an image, you need to upload an image. We're going to talk too much about images today. We're going to talk mostly about documents. So what happens is that files on computers have a dot and then a suffix, an extension that tells you what kind of file it is. And this information here is really important for your computer because it tells your operating system what application should be used to open up that type of file. So when your computer sees a .docx after a file name, it knows that it's a Microsoft Word document, and if it's capable of opening it, if you have software on your computer that can open it, it'll use that software to open it. And other software besides Microsoft made software can open up .docx type files. It's the most widely used document file type. It has extensive formatting and editing tools. And one of the biggest reasons people use Microsoft Word is because it has a wide range of tools and extensive add-ons that you can extend the capability beyond what Microsoft just gives you. So that's one pretty common document type of file. Another one is Apple's Pages. That's made by Apple. They have a software called Pages. That's a word processing software. And when you save files in Pages, it saves them as a .pages type of file type. The advantages of Pages is that it's really great for working with Macs and iPhones and iPads. It uses iCloud. It's great for collaborating with other Apple users that have Apple devices. And so it really makes it a really nice tool to use for people that are using Apple products. Okay. And so that's why some people, and it's free, it comes with your Apple device. And then there's Google Docs. Google Docs doesn't really have a file extension. It was interesting doing some research on that, is that Google Docs saves documents in Google Drive with some unknown type of proprietary format that can't be opened up with anything else except Google Docs. And so it's a cloud-based format. It's really good at what's called real-time collaboration. People can see changes they're making on a document. Two people can work on one document and they can see it almost instantaneously. And they're always saved in the cloud. If you create a document in Google Docs, it is automatically saved in your Google Drive for you, and you don't have to even think about where it's being saved, which is nice. So those are the three major types of word processing tools that a lot of people use. But you may not want to always save a file with one of those tools. You may want to get it to someone else or get it somewhere else. So one of the most common forms of exporting a file is to export a document as a PDF, portable document format. This was something that was created by Adobe. It's an industry standard. They gave free software so anybody can read an Adobe PDF file on their computer or their smartphone. And what it does is it preserves the formatting, the fonts, the layout, the position of images and text and everything like that. And it is great for sharing finalized read-only documents. So even within businesses and organizations, say they wanted to create an employee manual or you wanted to create club bylaws or something like that, rather than saving it in editable format like Word, you might want to save it in a PDF format. And the advantage of a PDF format is that pretty much anybody can see and open up the file. So if you didn't know if the person had Word or not, you could export your file to PDF and email the attachment to them as a PDF and they could open it up. And we'll take a look at saving files as PDFs. They don't look any different than the original. They just make it work that way. Okay, so the other thing you can do is you can save something as a plain text file. Plain text is .txt. It's that type of file type. It has no formatting at all other than maybe a carriage return for a paragraph or something like that. So any formatting that shows text in bold or script or underlined or other things like that just doesn't work. But it's really great for very simple storing and using of unformatted text. Many notes applications tend to use plain text, and it's a great way for sharing just plain text and formatting it in another application if that's what you want to do and format it that way. Okay, so that's one way of using plain text. Another type is to use rich text format. Rich text has a little bit more formatting, but it is a standard that it's very compatible between different types of word processing software and is pretty much understood. So if you had something in bold or you had something in a larger font, it's very compatible with other types of software. So if you needed somebody to be able to edit the text rather than just look at it, remember a PDF tends to be not editable, but some software can edit it. You can send something as rich text. So that's a little upgrade from just plain text, okay? But then there's another type of file, EPUB. Electronic publications use an EPUB file format that's really commonly used for digital reading and electronic readers or creating or distributing ebooks. It's not necessary to use if you don't create an ebook, but if you ever want to take something and publish it as an ebook, it's helpful to know about the fact that you can do that. And most of the time on like Kindle and Apple Books, you'll see an option on Pages that lets you export a document to Apple's bookstore. Apple has a bookstore. Kindle's probably more widely known. And there are tools that you can use to export documents to those. And it's actually free to use. It doesn't cost you anything to publish a document on Kindle if you're interested in doing that. Another format is hypertext markup language. Say you've got a document, you've got some information, but say, gee, I'd really like to publish this on my website. Most of the tools allow you to export a document to hypertext markup language, which gives you the ability to copy that file and upload it to a website and make it available on a website for people to use, and it creates web-ready content so that you don't have to do any additional editing or modification of it for upload it to a website. And so that's very common. Some people like to write in a word processor, but it's really something they're planning on publishing on a website, not on a document or PDF. They don't need it. They want to get it onto a website. And so most word processors have the ability for you to export to hypertext markup language. And another type of language that's used is called Markdown. Think of it as a simplified HTML. HTML is not a code, it's a formatting tool. So it tells a document when text is bold, what font it is, whether it's red or blue or green. And Markdown is just a simpler version of HTML. It's used a lot on certain types of sites like Reddit and others that are used for simple content, but it does give you some formatting that's really usable for web applications, but it just has a minimal amount of formatting. Another type is open document, and this is what LibreOffice and some other types of open source formats use, and it's basically used by open source applications. So if you know somebody that's got an open source application and you're working in Word, but you want to give them a version of the document that they can edit, you could export your Word document to an ODT file and then send that file to them and they're able to edit it. And so another reason for you. So as a consumer, as an individual, as a personal user, keeping track of what other people use is a little more important because they may not be able to work with and edit or manage your document. And so those are something to keep in mind with what people are doing. So I'm going to pause for a few minutes, take some questions, and then we're going to take a look at each of the types of applications that we want to use and try a few out. Okay, what you should be seeing is my Windows desktop, and I've got Word open. I've got a document that kind of explains a little bit about what document exporting is about, why you might want to do it, things like that. But what you do in order to export a document is you go up to the File command. That's usually pretty consistent with all of the word processing software applications. And I'm going to scroll down to what's called export. Okay. So if I select export, I get a menu that says create PDF or XPS. That's another terminology that's used. It preserves the layout. Content can't be easily changed, and it lets people view it with almost any type. So if I just click on create PDF, it creates the PDF, and you can see it gives it a file name, exporting documents.pdf, and it saves as a type PDF. And there are a couple of options. I can open it after publishing. I'm going to uncheck this because I don't want to open it. And then there are two formats. One is to minimize the size if you want to publish it online and make it really easy for people to download, or you can use it as standard publishing, and it'll save it in a place where I may or may not want to have it. So I can choose the file here if I want to and put it in whatever location I may want to have for this and have it available for me to use in virtually anything I might want to. Or I can even save it in my documents folder here. So you can select where you want to save it. And then when you click publish, it creates the file. Now that's one way to do it. I could have done file and export, and I can change the file type. And this gives me the ability to change the file type. I have an old format of Word. Some people may still be using old 2003 versions of Word. They would not be able to open up a .docx file. Some people might be using LibreOffice, okay, and you can save the document as a .odt. You can use it as a template. If you created a layout for a newsletter and you wanted to reuse that as a template, you could save it as a template for Word, where it lets you do that. So here's plain text. I'm going to save this as a plain text file, and it clicks on Save As, okay, and it's going to save it as a plain text file. Let me go to my Documents folder here, and it's got a .txt extension, okay? And it says it's going to cause all formatting, pictures, and objects like a shape or something like that to be lost. Okay, I don't mind. All right, and it shows a little preview of what it looks like, and I'm going to click OK. And we'll take a look at these in a few minutes. Okay, then I'm going to File, and I'm going to go to Export. And you can see there's Save and Save As, but I can change the file type to rich text. Okay, and rich text is going to be a little bit different. Let me go down to get to my cloud software here. I think this is it. Let's find it up here. My documents where I had everything else. There they are. And it says .rtf. Okay, it'll preserve some things, but not all things. So I don't have a whole lot of formatting, but I have some numbers and dashes and other things like that here. So I can really quickly do this. Now, there is an option on Word called Share, where you can share a file. You know, it makes it really easy to attach a file as a PDF or something else to another format. I'm actually looking at a different version of the file here. So let's go. Here's the RTF. They're all listed in Word, which is nice. So if I go to exporting documents.docx, and then I go to share, I can copy a link to this file. It's in my cloud, so I can share it that way. And it gives me the ability to share it or send a copy of it as a PDF if I want to. So it's actually integrated with your email that way. Okay, so that's a couple of things with working with Word. It gives you the ability to easily send and save and share documents in different ways. Now, if I want to open this up, here's the .rtf version of this document. If I open this up, it looks pretty similar to what I had. It kept some of the formatting here, but if I go to the plain text version, it will look a little bit different. So it's going to open it up with this. You can see how the plain text really didn't keep a lot of the font selection or other things. It didn't really keep the line spacing the way I had it in there as well. But it's great for just plain text. Okay, it makes it possible for virtually anybody to open it up and use it. Not commonly used. And you see autosave is turned off. It actually thinks it's a separate document. It's not part of my original set, but in Word, it'll show me the 3 different versions that I want to use. I could save it as a web page as well. Export gives me the ability to change the file type to a number of things. And if I want to save it as a different file type, there are a lot of different options that Word gives you to be able to save it with different. It brings up the Save As menu here. And there are just a lot of different options here that, if you used a specific type of formatting or you needed something very specific, it gives you the ability to do that with a Word doc, with something. So I think there's an option here where I had exporting documents. Let's see, File, Export. I can send a document to a Kindle reader now with Word. If your Word document is in docx, they have the ability for you to send your document to a Kindle reader built into an export function in Word. So those are some options available to you in Word. Okay, let me bring up Google Docs here. Okay, same document. Okay, and my Google Docs here. And in Google Docs, I basically copied and pasted the text in here. I go to File, which is where you go in Word, so that's very similar. But there is no export function. There is a share function, but what I do, there is an email function that lets me attach it to an email. I can make a copy, or I can download it. And download gives me the ability to export this as a Word document, which is handy because if I needed to move a document between Google Docs and Microsoft Word, I could export a Google Doc as Microsoft Word and make it really easy for them to work with it. I've also got open document, rich text, PDF, plain text, a web page, an EPUB, and Markdown. As I said, Markdown's more simplified type of web page formatting tool, but it gives me the ability to download these. And when I click on download, it's actually going to download it to my download folder. And it's not going to save it in the Google Cloud. So I'd have to go to my download folder on my computer and find it, but it'll be available to me as a .word document right away. I don't have to do any changes to it or anything like that. So Google makes exporting documents download functions, as you won't find the word export in the menu. You will find the word download, and that's where you can change it to a different version if you want to. So now you can see my Mac screen. Okay, I'm in Pages, same document. Okay, done nothing different, just same document. And in Pages, there is a menu up at the upper left where I go to File, and they call it Export To as well. Okay, so I can export it to a PDF, or to Word, or to EPUB, or to plain text, or to rich text. I can even export it to an image, which makes it into an image file if I want to do that, which is kind of an odd little tool. And then there's an old version of Pages 09 that it lets me export. And I can also publish it directly to Apple Books if I want to. If I have to set up a free Apple Books account with iTunes, but it lets me publish it to Apple Books if I want to be able to do it that way. So if I just click on export to PDF and I click on PDF, the export also shows the same menu here. So I can choose different ones and I can click on save, and it's going to save it in the current location. Now I'm in Pages, and Pages documents get automatically saved in iCloud unless you tell it to do something different. So this is my iCloud account. And so here's the exporting documents pages, it's kind of grayed out because I'm not really working with it. But if I save this exporting documents PDF and click on export, it'll be in my Pages account in iCloud automatically. If I go to export to Word, I can export it to Word and I can save it and it's exported to Word. So here's exporting documents PDF, exporting documents pages, and I'll just keep on adding different document types and it automatically will export it as a Word file. So if I wanted to go and open this up in Word, it's already in a native Word file. I don't have to make any conversions at all. And I can use it and modify it. Now, Apple also has a share function as Google and do, and I can say that I want to send this Pages document as a copy. It'll go out as Pages. So Apple tends to share, their own native format. Google tends to share their own native format. Microsoft, tends to share their own native format. So when you want to share a document with somebody else that may or may not have that tool, it's better to export it and then send them that file type that they can work with. And so that's the drawback of working with people that use different types of software, because it makes it more complicated for us to be able to manage sharing and using other types of things. Okay, so I've shown you Word, I've shown you Google Docs, and I've shown you Pages. Now, one of the things you'll see that's common is that you can save a document from Google Docs and Pages to Word or to TXT or to RTF, but you can't export from Word to from Pages to Docs or Docs to Pages. And so you have to use that intermediary format to be able to manage it and work with it. Or you can copy and paste if that's another solution to be able to do. So if you were working with a relatively simple document, exporting it in document. What the export function will do is if you have a chart, a table, a shape, or some other media in it, when you export from Pages to Word, it'll preserve that a lot of that formatting of your document. You might have to do a little bit of modification, but it'll preserve a lot of that. The same thing when you try to import from Word to Pages. Pages gives you the ability to open up different types of files on your computer, and so you can do that. Same thing with Google Docs. As they make exporting something to Word, they'll preserve most of the formatting and layout and design and fonts that you've used if you've modified any of those types of things when you're using Google Docs as well. So it's just a matter of understanding. If you only really have to understand what else somebody you want to share something with is using. And of course, if they're using a different piece of software than you're using, understanding how you want to share it, what kind of file you want to give them is really helpful to work with. And there are web viewers for Microsoft applications. So you can take a Word file and send a link to it from OneDrive to another user. They don't have to own Microsoft Word to be able to open it. You can do the same thing as long as somebody has a Google account, they can open up a Google Doc. or if somebody has an iCloud account, they can open up Apple Pages. So there are lots of ways to share. It's just a matter of finding out what is the best way for you to share something with somebody else is when learning about exporting files becomes more important. Or when you hit a website that says, upload this file as a PDF, and you've got a Google Doc or an Apple Pages document, you want to make sure you can send them a PDF, you can upload that file as a PDF that way. And those are the most common reasons people might need to do it.